I get those goosebumps every time.
I just have to get the big fella off the bench.
Could this be their last chance now? In it comes, Monster to the front! He scored! Barry Monster scored!
I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too numb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hind to throw that to the side, I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side, I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. 713 through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low key. I'm sipping low key and honest, find a rider. I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those times, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hind.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Loaded Mag NUFC. And we are here tonight to discuss all things Sandro Tonali, amongst other little snippets as well. And of course, welcome to all in the live chat. But first of all, Mr. Dash Shocks, how are you, fella? How are things this week?
Hang on. I'll try and put on a smile because Pete, like Man United and those fucking green and yellow scarves, I brought out the red in the thing. And I apologize for the language that's going to happen here tonight because I am absolutely fucking bulling with this story. I am absolutely raging. I shouldn't be as mad as I am, but I am. And I'm just absolutely gutted with it. But yeah, let's get into it, Pete. I'm not great as you guessed from today on just all on the story. Apart from that, in Grant.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's all kind of it's a bit of a shock, if I'm honest. I think a lot of fans are shocked and feeling a lot of different emotions at the moment with regards to the situation with Sandro Tonali. Look, there's so many people in the chat already. Thank you for coming and joining us. If you haven't already, a bit of housekeeping, make sure you click the likes. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Lots of comments in already. The Spanners are in the house, Tom and Lisa. Great to have you in there. Lots of others as well. PDK, great to see you in there. And obviously some really good news personally for you in the last few days.
That's some good news.
That is some good news.
That's put a smile on my face.
So a massive thumbs up to you. We'll leave that there, but I don't know why my screen was doing that. Can you see that?
Yeah, you kind of got dark. Yeah,
it went dark and it was like some fireworks. I have no idea why. It does that every so often. But great to see you, PDK. Thank you for coming and joining us. Craig Lee was in the chat very early, along with one or two others in there. So great to see you. Gary V, Jimmy Watt. We've got Dom in there as well. Oliver B. So many more as well in the chat. And get your questions and comments and opinions in. And we're seeing them fly on the screen as we go along. But look, let's start with a sort of summary, really, of what's kind of happened in this situation. So first of all, we had some breaking news from various different reports, starting in Italy, but Fabrizio Romano said, the breaking news, Zaniolo and Tonali have been questioned by authorities. That was what kicked it off. It then had a statement from the Italian Federation that confirmed that was the case and that they'd left international duty to have those conversations and then would be returning to their clubs. I'm kind of moving things on now. It then was reported by the Times that they had their phones seized by police into the inquiry that was going on, and then we moved forward. We then got the reports and get Italian football news had mentioned that Tonali had told his family, an agent, that they play poker and blackjack illegally, but denied any involvement in illegal sports betting. So that's kind of filled us with a little bit of confidence after that point.
Yeah, and just getting in there, Pete. I'm perfectly happy with all that. At that stage, when we got to that stage in the story, I'm there. Okay, it's outlawed in Italy or whatever the rules are in Italy, but I'm fine with that. It's not of a sporting. It's not of a football nature. It's not going. It's he might get a fine or whatever my case may be. But it's not going to affect his Newcastle career and us. So I'm okay up to that point. Starts to go turn a bit then. Really from today on. But go on.
And that was the thing. I think for me, when that kind of gets put out there, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, it's not football betting or sport betting related. So therefore, from a Newcastle point of view, it won't affect us. Obviously, there is still something there that needs to be helped and supported with, but we know that the club will back our players, and I wasn't worried about that side of things. It was just the fact that it wasn't affecting football at that stage. But then we kind of get another report of that. Tonali are likely to not have been involved in sporting fraud, and that filled me with even more confidence. At this point, I'm thinking this is a non-story. All this talk about 3 years, 18 months, all the rest of it means nothing. And I tweeted out as such. It then we then get yesterday, I believe, Tonali's agent, Risa, confirms Sandro suffers of gambling addiction. He's fighting to avoid that, and I'm sure he will win this difficult game. He's sad, still in shock, and then he goes on to thank Newcastle for supporting Sandro and says he could even feature on Saturday. Now, there's lots of other different reports from today. In the morning, talked about that, at this point now, there is likely to have been football betting. And at this point, this is what I'd said to a lot of people, a lot of non-Newcastle United fans that were kind of report on this, that up until last night, there hadn't been any direct links to Sandro Tonali betting on football. And that's why I was always feeling relatively confident about the situation, that it was going to kind of not really come to anything more significant. However, wake up in the morning, there are links there. Apparently, after he met with the prosecutors, he has apparently mentioned that he has betted on football. And look, we'll fast forward to Keith Downey's update, or many updates, but this was one of the most recent updates. And it says Sandro Tonali faces a lengthy ban from football. At his hearing yesterday, Sky Italy report that Newcastle midfielder admitted to betting on AC Milan to win matches whilst a player there. So those bets happened before he moved to Newcastle United. His agent revealed yesterday that he had a gambling addiction. He also added the most severe punishment for this conduct is a 3-year ban from football worldwide. Tonali likely to be served a lesser ban for his help in the investigation. No comment from Newcastle United at that stage. Well, that did come because this evening we got a statement from Newcastle United saying that they can confirm that Sandro Tonali is subject to an investigation by the Italian Prosecutor's Office and the Italian Football Federation. Sandro is fully engaged in the investigation and will continue to cooperate with all relevant authorities. He and his family will continue to receive the club's full support. Due to the ongoing process, Sandro and Newcastle United are unable to offer further comment at this time. So this is kind of where we are right now. Everyone in the fan base, or everyone in football in this country, are now expecting Sandro Tonali to get a lengthy ban. What that is, I'm sure we'll discuss that. But now we've kind of ran through that story, Daz. But you're not happy with this situation. You've kind of almost kind of semi-vented that. What are your thoughts about this whole situation now? We've kind of run through it.
Yeah, where do I start, Pete? I suppose I know you and I have a kind of a different branch of directions here, and I can see the chat as well. There's some of it as well, and like I was 100% on the same wavelength as you. We're all behind Tonali, and still am behind Tonali, but I suppose where it changed is that thing today, where we found out the information, or again, people are questioning that in the chat, but I think at this stage, Sky News, Keith Downey and Sky Italia are not going to be coming out with this thing that he has bet on games that he's played in or not played in while he was playing for AC Milan. So we have to take that again, as I said in our disclaimer, we have to take the information that has been presented to us in the media. So we're going off that. It could change tomorrow, who knows? But I just it changes when we find out that information. There's an awful lot of questions that remain unanswered, and I'm going to use the word allegedly a couple of times as well in tonight, I think. But like there's the case of we had a certain amount to play with in the summer transfer window. We all know the restrictions around financial fair play. We went and we bought Tonali. We did look at Barella first, or we linked to Barella. Who knows? But we got this great deal from AC Milan to bring in Tonali, who's someone who I was delighted we picked them up. Still am delighted we picked them up, and we got him on a decent enough deal as well, 55 million. So there's a question. Did AC Milan allegedly know that this was going on? Tonali definitely knew that what he had done. So there's an element of trust there now that's broken. There's question marks all around this, and then it's like what was shared with the club. It looks like the club knew nothing, and I believe what the club were coming out with, but the club knew nothing about it. So there's some element of lying. There's lies involved in all this, and at the same time, we have to get behind the player, and it is a gambling addiction. We wanted the best from him, for him, and to get over this addiction and get the help he needs. But we're left with a gaping hole, or we will be left. We don't even know how long the ban is going to be. 7 months to 3 years. We don't know the length that we're talking about here. We're left with a hole in our midfield. We have players that can play there now, but it's a long season. There's plenty of injuries. There's players coming back. You can mask over it. Oh, Jolinton's coming back. Willock's coming back. But you saw in the documentary that we wanted a midfielder. We got the best midfielder that was available at that time. We may potentially not have him for 3 years now. Like that is ridiculous, so there's big question marks there. Now then, if AC Milan allegedly knew something about this deal, what surely this question marks there could has all the money been paid up front for Tonali? Do Newcastle owe more money now? Is there a case that the potential court case that could ensue? Who knows? There's a lot to play out here, but yes, have the players' welfare at mind, and I want him to get help. I would love to see him come back to Newcastle as fast as possible to play for us, and I think he would definitely owe us when he comes back as well, because he's only 23 as well. We have to remember that too. So there's a lot of factors in it. But I'm going to go from my point of view as a fan. I'm pissed off that our star player that we bought in the summer, that we built our transfer window around, we brought in. On top of that, Barnes, who's injured, different factors. We've put in two players that are kind of for the future / squad players, but will be mainstays in the future. We give our transfer window a really, really high rating at the end of the summer. But now we're back to where we kind of nearly more or less where we started, and we've got so many games and competitions that we're in. And I'm thinking, is this going to play on? Is this going to knock an effect? And it will have an effect on our season, because he's not going to be able to play. Players are going to get injured. Let's say Bruno gets injured, or someone gets, or Longstaff gets injured, or whoever. Then we don't have that option to bring him in. We're going to be relying on the younger players to come in. Maybe they'll do a great job for us. But I'm playing everything out of my head, and I'm thinking this could cost us Champions League next season. It could cost us, and I'm sorry, Pete, I'm going a bit of a rant. It could cost us European competition. It could cost us. Yeah, the owners. I'm not going Kevin Keegan mode now. The owners said that we can't afford a mistake. we can't afford a mistake because of FFP. We have all the money in the world. We can't spend it. We can't afford a mistake because of financial fair play. This will have a setback on us. You can dress it up, and I agree with people are saying. He's our player. We have to look after him. We have to get behind him. All that, I agree with all that, but it's going to affect us. It's in our project now. So, and who is to blame? It's Tonali for being involved in the lie. Could allegedly be AC Milan as well. And maybe our own scouting system and the background checks we do on players as well. It's like gambling addiction is easy to hide, and there's lies involved in that addiction as well. So a lot of factors. Been playing it all out in my head as well today and getting more and more angrier about it. But and I suppose as well as that, Pete, and I'm still talking, that we're kind of up until today we thought this is just going to be grand. It'll be grand. It's going to be it's going to be something small. It'll be fine. It's at least he didn't bet on football, and like football is his thing. It'd be strange if he didn't bet on football, but he hasn't bet on football. He hasn't bet on matches he played in. They're going to go if he gets something, it's going to be minimal. But now all bets are off. But yeah, I'm even thinking about the slagging you're going to get on the 12th man, Pete, for no reason other than.
No, don't worry. They already tried to start that today.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna share what that discussion was. I'm sure we'll have a very similar discussion next week. But Daz, I can completely understand why you're not happy with that. Tim mentions it, so I'm fuming. He knew what he was doing and how would it affect others, but he did it anyway for personal gain. Outrageous behavior. Now, I understand the fume on that, as Daz is quite angry as well, and rightly so. But we're then getting into a conversation about addiction and how it affects people, and that's a different, separate situation. Yeah. So we can be fuming, but to say that he knew what he was doing, all the rest of it, there are technicalities to this. It is very much
multi-layered. Yeah,
it is 100%. That it is layered, and there it isn't a kind of a right or wrong, knowing what he's doing, knowing what he's not doing, and there are different situations to this. So I understand Tim from your perspective. I know understand Daz from your perspective. There was a comment on here from Taman Carpel. It said, lads, why is the graphic on the screen red and white? It's not for those down the road that are not very good. That's certainly not the case. But I think it's more for rage and anger and frustration as to why it's red on there. But
if you've got a better color for rage and red suits that. And someone asked as well, why is Tonali in an AC Milan jersey in the middle picture? Because this all happened when he was at AC Milan. Now we don't know yet either. Has he been betting on games involving Newcastle? I don't want to find out that he gets a ban of a year and a half, and then come back and then he said it was betting on Newcastle matches, and he gets more on top of that as well. Who knows? There's so many questions here. That's why there's more questions than answers. That's why we put that title on the show. It was meant to be a general question and answer show, but there's only one question on everyone's mind. I think.
No, I get it, definitely. Look, from my perspective, I kind of thought in a different angle, and I know you'd mentioned it previously. Now, first and foremost, I have to say I'm absolutely gutted. I'm absolutely gutted because as we're running through and running back through, and as I was kind of putting, me and Daz were putting those images together for you, is to give you a bit of a playback. I was looking back at it and I was thinking, like, when it popped up on the screen that, he hasn't been betting on anything sports related. And I remember the feeling I felt at that time, thinking, like, we're okay, we're good. He's not going to be massively affected. And to wake up to hear that this morning, it was a bit like, oh, for God's sake. I'm absolutely gutted because he is the guy that was meant to be coming in to make the difference to this team. And although it was a slow burner start, I genuinely thought that by the end of the season, Sandro Tonali would be playing the football that would make the difference to Newcastle United. That doesn't look like it's going to happen. So I am absolutely gutted that we are in the process of potentially losing this player. There is no doubt about it. However, two other things. I have to think also about the player, and I do that because I'm a supporter of Newcastle United, and when those players put the shirt on or when they decide to sign for this club, I back them 110%, no matter what they're going through. So I am thinking about the player also, and the player is going through a really difficult position. He is battling an addiction, as his agent said. And some people ask me the question, why is it? I think it might have been Lawless today on the 12-man chat. Why is? And I'll do it in a Lawless voice. Why isn't Sandro Tonali coming out and saying this? Why isn't it not Sandro? Why isn't his agent talking on his behalf? Well, because
it's that Jamaican Geordie accent you're doing there. That's brilliant.
No. I could do a London accent. It would be very good, but no. This is that was Lawless in rant mode. But basically, that was his question. I'm saying, well, he's not going to come out and talk until things have been confirmed. They're not going to come out and talk in detail, but his agents talked on his behalf and said he's got an addiction. And we have to take that seriously because an addiction is serious. And goes back to the point that Tim made and a few others in the chat, like, why has he done this? He should have known better, blah, blah, blah. But when you're addicted to something, you are not genuinely thinking straight sometimes, and you make decisions that are not logical, that are not rational, that are not right, and you do it because you're in a predicament. And we have to understand that he's 23 years old, as Dad, you mentioned a minute ago. He's still a young lad. He's still growing. He's still maturing as a person, not just as a player. And we have to remember that as well. He's made a mistake. He will suffer the consequences for that. There is no doubt about it. But we have to remember there's a human being there. We also have to remember that he's still a Newcastle United player. So regardless of the ban, doesn't matter how long it is, he still comes back to Newcastle United. And therefore, we backing him now, I genuinely believe will have a bigger impact on us, him coming back to the club, knowing that his fans of the club that he plays for supports him. And that's also in my thinking, the long-term effect of that. Now, that's important too. On the flip side to that, although I'm absolutely gutted, I'm then thinking about the club and the rest of the squad. Because we have to. We're fans of this club. We've got a lot of football to play this season, as you said, that. We don't want this situation to affect who's potentially getting Champions League football, as you said. And that's a great point, and you're absolutely right, that. It could potentially affect us. So we need to now think about the rest of the players, and we need to think about how this impacts on them. And I really hope, and I know for a fact that everyone that's going to the Palace game on Saturday will absolutely sing their hearts out, not only for Sandro Tonali, but for the rest of those players. Because we need to support those players through this period of time, knowing that one of our biggest signings is not going to be available to us. Now, what I will say on the flip side to that, talking about the players still, if this was Nick Pope, if this was Sven Botman, if this was Bruno Guimaraes, if this was Alexander Isak, I don't think I'd be in a position to talk about this tonight, because I would be utterly distraught. Why? Is because they have been key players for Newcastle United this season. Sandro Tonali will, or would have been, if available, a key player for us going on in the season. But I think if we're all honest with ourselves, he has been a bit of a slow burner. He's had some good games, or he's played well, but he hasn't hit the heights that we've expected right now. And at times we've played well without him. So we are still in a position where we can still be strong without Sandro Tonali. Now, if this was a Bruno Guimaraes, we'd be having a very different conversation because he's crucial to the way we play. Alexander Isak as well. So I'm thinking about it from a wider perspective. Is that, is it the worst thing in the world? Probably not, because we're getting Joe Willock back. Although Joe Willock is a different type of player, we are getting someone to effectively cover Sandro Tonali for the rest of the season. Then you've got the other side of things, because I said rest of the season. January comes around very, very soon. For me, it is absolutely crucial. And a few people have put it in the chat and put comments on there. And Scotty put, so if banned, who do we sign in January? And he's talked about a couple of players that we might well come back to. Mr. Van Oudem himself, do you think we'll sign loan a new midfielder in January? 110%.
Sorry, Pete. I've got it. I know you're on a roll here. I've got to jump in and say we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to go be doing this. We spent all our fucking money in the transfer window in the summer to buy in our world class midfielder. Yes, he, on the first day he hit the ground running and he scored. It's been stop start. He probably had a lot on his mind if you think about it, because he knew this was coming. Milan may have allegedly known. Newcastle didn't know this is coming. Eddie Howe didn't know this is coming. Us fans didn't know this is coming. We've been sold a sick donkey here from AC Milan, and I'm not talking about his playing style or his talent, because he has bundles of talent. I'm talking about that we're stuck with this situation now. And you're the way you're mentioning it. I'm not fighting with you. I'm just throwing this out.
No.
The way you're mentioning this is that he'll be gone for the season. He could potentially be gone for 2 seasons and even 3. Yet we don't know. And again, I think we don't know all the facts yet. We can only go on what we have. I know it's just we are lumbered with this situation now, and there's nothing we can do about it. Or is there? Is there some kind of a legal challenge that can be made? Do we have a leg to stand on? Or
well, interesting you said that, Daz, because let me see if I can find it. Yeah, Craig Hope put a piece out this evening. Newcastle will consider all of their legal options as they absorb the shock news of Sandro Tonali, set for a 12-month plus ban for illegal betting. Some key questions need answers, and we'll get to one of them, meaning, did Milan or the player know about the investigation in July? And it's a relatively good question to put out there. So from a legal point of view, we know what the club is like legally. They are very, very strong, and they've got good people behind them that they will look at all eventualities. But I completely get your point, Daz, about we shouldn't have to sign someone in January. I genuinely believe we would have signed somebody anyway as another option in midfield.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion, but we will need to sign somebody now. So for me, and the reason why I say we would definitely sign somebody in January, and we can talk about who that might be. It might not necessarily be a complete Sandro replacement. It may well be, but in terms of his specialised position and where he plays on the pitch. But that then fills me with a little bit more confidence that if we can last or get through a very difficult period, should I say, for another 3.5 months, and we get to the sort of January period and we're still in a strong position and we're able to sign somebody that, even if it's on a loan for 6 months, or even if it's on buying someone young that can get us through to the end of the season so we can reevaluate things and regroup, that would be okay too. There are other teams, we're not in an Ivan Toney situation. I tweeted out and said, let's get behind Sandro Tonali. We're gutted about it. I think Gary Vee just put in there, he's also gutted as well in the chat. I agree. I'm absolutely gutted about it. We all are. But we need to support the player because he's still part of the club. We're not going to rip up his contract and get rid of him. He's still going to be a Newcastle player. But what I would say is that from our point of view, we need to make sure that we're still in a very, very strong position, even without him. And for me, signing someone in January that could get us through could well be the difference maker. And that's what we want. We want someone that can come in and be a strong player in that position where it's an alternative to Bruno, an 8 or a 6, someone that can make the difference. And I think if we can do that, we're still not in the worst possible position, even with him not being available. So I'm trying to look at this from a positive perspective.
I see. I'm smiling because you're gone into solution mode, Pete, and you are taking the positives. You're trying to draw positive, and there could be some. But I'm not ready to go there yet into the positive mode. I knew by coming on tonight I was going to blow a bit of a gasket on it, but yeah.
Okay,
I don't
so
know.
from this point of view, you mentioned earlier, we talked about, okay, we don't know the legalities around it. We don't know where the investigation's going or what's been concluded after he met. I think he was in there 2 hours with the Italian prosecutors in Italy. We don't know what the outcome of that is at this moment in time. So what potential ban could he get? Now, what we do know, and Aaron Stokes, a friend of the channel from the Chronicle, did a piece and put something out. Fagioli, who is a young Juventus player who came forward himself and almost kind of gave himself up to the Italian Federation and said, this is what I've been doing. Right? And because of that, his ban was significantly reduced from 12 months to 7 months. And that, I think, comes into effect from November the 1st, if I'm right in thinking. Now, he helped with the investigation. And if I'm right in thinking, I think he might well have given up Sandro Tonali as one of those players. And I think there's some quotes coming out from Fagioli who said about the conversations and the interactions he had with Tonali to know that he was betting on football. So he's effectively, trying to throw other players under the car to save himself. So he's in a position where he's got a 7-month ban reduced. I'm probably not as raging as my man next to me, but yeah, I'm absolutely gutted just because.
Yeah, you are. I know you are, Pete.
It's thrown everything that's been good about Newcastle United, certainly in these last few weeks, up in the air, and it's raised more questions than answers, which is part of what our show is all about. But it says Tonali and Newcastle now await punishment, and so in your opinion, Daz, do you think there will be? Everyone's talking about 12 months. Do you think because Sandro Tonali has cooperated, has obviously talked more openly, certainly to his agent, his family, has been reported about his addiction, do you think there's a chance that it could be 7 months? If it was 7 months from November the 1st, we're looking at sort of his season being over, but potentially back in pre-season, ready for next season. What are your initial thoughts about the potential length of the ban? Because obviously we don't know for sure what it is right now.
And we don't know how they make up these the allocation of the bans and stuff like that. But I think it's definitely going to be 7 months, and I think it's going to be less than 3 years. But anywhere in between, it's like picking the lot of numbers. It's like putting a bet on a horse. You're not going to know. Yeah.
Your gut feeling, Daz. What's your gut feeling about how long it potentially could be?
I think it's into next season, and that's what look. Even I was kind of clutching at straws, thinking, okay, if the worst comes to worst, he's gone for the season. But now here, like reading more things about it and just seeing more about it, is potential he's gone for all of next season as well, or further. Because they could really make an example of him, because he's not the other guy who's also guilty came forward. Tonali hasn't. He's told the truth now, but it's the horse is bolted. I'm using all these racing terminologies here, but it's very difficult to know, to second guess what that's going to be. No one knows, and only the people in charge will be able to comment. We'll only know who we know, which I actually hope we know before the weekend, because there's no way he's playing on Saturday. There's all this talk of that he could potentially play on Saturday. There's no way his head is going to be in the game, and he'd be a distraction to the rest of the class. I don't think it's right that he does play on Saturday. I can't see that be working out. I know the whole Joe Linton thing and with the driving ban, and he played the next game, but this is different. This is, I think, has been on his mind for a while, as it is. Well, also, just back on the comment that said Pete looks raging. I know Pete, you got more in you. I know you are raging on this topic as well, but I know you get more. You see more rage after a bad result or something happens in a match. You don't want to see Pete's face before they actually go on live on the show. Then I suppose I'm more. I can get over that because I know it's we move on to the next game, but the next game here for Tonali, it could be 2 years. Even 3, we don't know, and that's the whole thing. I don't want to go into the weekend still not knowing.
Yeah, and now I'm kind of the other way, is because I know this is long term. My rage is kind of
What can we do about it? Yeah,
dimming quickly, because what can we do about it? We can't change it for so long. It's a case of, right, okay, how can we look at this in a positive way? What can we do next to combat that? And first of all, someone like Joe Willock being back in training and potentially being available to us is massive. Secondly, we need to keep Joe Linton fit, because Joe Linton hasn't been 100% fit for long parts of this season already, and that's a concern, because normally he's the guy, he's the tank, he's the machine that you can guarantee that's always going to be fit, always going to be at it, and he hasn't been in certain games, so we need him 100% fit for long periods of the season. Bruno Guimaraes, we need to wrap up in cotton wool as and when we can, because losing him and Tonali at any point in the season will be massive. And then getting Willock back to being that alternative player in various different positions will be key too, before, in what I believe, we add somebody else. They're the kind of things that I'm thinking just off the top of my head. But lots of people have got opinions on this.
yeah.
We've got Jimmy Watt has gone. I'm going for a year plus for me. Drew, sorry, Daz, I'm just taking the chat.
No, work away. I can't keep up to it anyway.
You guys have been amazing. We've got 280 in the chat. Just again, housekeeping. If you haven't clicked the like or subscribe, please do so. Thank you for supporting the channel. Drew has got in with 7 months. Okay. Gary V, gut feeling between 12 and 18 months, similar to what you said, Daz, in terms of that, and maybe with some suspended. Foxy said FIFA need to make an example of a high-profile player. If it's not a big ban, then others will do it. Not scared of the consequences. If they're not scared of the consequences, I think he means that's. And he's more high-profile than Fagioli, and the Villa player. So that's my only worry about this.
Yeah.
Exactly what they've said. Sorry, but Daz, go for it.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I'm thinking again. I was thinking that the press conference on Friday, I feel sorry for Eddie Howe in all this. You know, he kind of he talked about Tonali, how he followed him, and how he was the missing link, let's say, in who he wanted to bring into the midfield, and someone absolutely delighted that he got him, and then this happens, and Tonali knowing this something was going on in the background as well, but it is an addiction. It is a disease, and he needs the club will get behind getting the best for him as well. And hopefully the ban is as little as possible, and we can get him back playing and training and playing for us as quick as possible. But it is what it is.
Salmonitis NUFC is put. It won't be 12 months. He said more than like 3 or 4. I tell you what, I take that.
I take that now.
If was offered to us right now, I take that right now and just be like, done deal. Boy, the rest of the midfield, boys, get us through to the next phase. That would certainly be a situation. Drew's taking a different perspective on this. Not making excuses for him. He's guilty of betting. Big whoop-de-doo. Did he allegedly, do as it says on there? I'm not going to repeat that. And yes, I understand from where you're coming from, is because there are more significant, serious implications and offences that professional footballers have made, and you refer to one of them there, and you're absolutely right. So when you look at it in the wider context of things, it's not the worst thing in the world what Sandro Tonali's done, but it's just the way it impacts on us now as a fan base and as a club, because of the trajectory where we're on. I think that's why there's so much frustration in the chat, and I completely understand why.
Yeah, and I agree, and I was even trying to tell myself this as well. It's not the most important thing in the world either that's happening. There's so many bad things happening in the world at this time. It keeps getting worse every day. Wars breaking out here, there, and everywhere. It's just yeah, it's this for me as a fan. This is my go-to place. This is my what I put all my energy into is my free time into Newcastle, and I get angry when it gets damaged in any way. So yeah,
Because you love the club, Dad, and this
yeah,
is the thing: you love the club, and you love the players that come to this club. I remember how we reacted when Sandro
yes,
Tonali in the summer was signing, and we were so excited about it.
exactly.
In a light-hearted comment here, David R, is Jeff Hendricks available for a recall? Honestly, David, I'd rather carry on as we were
Yeah.
than had good old Jeff back to the
It didn't give the young players a chance, and I'm thinking about the last time I got this mad over a Newcastle related thing was when and apart from the whole takeover thing that kind of dragged on a bit, but it was Steve Bruce and getting rid of Steve Bruce back in the Ashley days, calling for him out and who would bring into replace. This is well before the takeover, but yeah.
What I forgot what I was going to say now. Really interesting point that we haven't considered. Okay, now you talked about giving young players a chance, Dad, and I think it just made me think just then. We've got Lewis Miley.
Yeah.
In the squad, he hasn't really been given an opportunity. Could that be the making of another young, exciting player coming through? Because we know how good of a preseason he had. You know, thinking about it in a positive way, could that be his opportunity to come through and get more minutes and really shine in the team? You know, is that something that people in the chat that are watching the show right now had not considered? I'd not considered it until you talked about maybe giving young people a chance, Daz. But what do you make of that potential eventuality?
Yeah, it will. There'll be more opportunities for them. With will be a midfielder less, and Miley and Elliot Anderson dipping in and out, and maybe someone else can come in as well. One of the young players to come in. But yeah, it's something that we're going to utilize anyway. With Champions League games, cup games, that we're going to use the full squad. That's why the likes of Miley hasn't gone out alone, and he's proved himself in the summer that in the preseason games that he can do a job. So we'll have to throw him in there as well, I think, and that could be a good thing. That could be again one of your positive tweets to take from this.
I'm trying to, mate. Honestly,
Just to answer Kevin there, you're right. He's not banned yet, but with the way it was everything is lined up and the information that's available in the media right now, it's only a matter of time. I'd love to say that we're totally wrong. We can delete this show from YouTube if we are. But it's not going to happen. I don't think. Unfortunately.
I think the thing that's changed it, Kevin, and you know, I appreciate that comment. We both do 100%, but you're right. It hasn't been confirmed, but I think the fact that people that are very close to news on Newcastle, the likes of, you know, whether it's Craig Hope, the likes of Keith Downey, and a few others that are now reporting that it is likely to be the case. I think that's what fills us all with a little bit of dread as a fan base, that it is likely to happen. Now, we could get a miracle and it doesn't, or it could be considerably less, as what's been mentioned by one or two. Hopefully that 3 or 4 months thing it does come to fruition. If that's the worst possible scenario, I take it. But we're not quite sure. There is a question here, really good question I want to know from everyone in the chat and you as well, Daz, because Gary has given a really interesting question here. And he's put all good talking about him coming back. You have to ask if he wants to be here or ever wanted to be here. Now, this is a question that I don't think we'll ever really get the answer to, but what are people's thoughts in the chat about what Gary said? It's an interesting question, but Daz, I'll bring that to you. What are your thoughts about what Gary said?
No, I think he wants to be here. I don't buy into that he didn't want to be here. He again, but we don't know the background to it. If AC Milan allegedly knew something in the background and they were quick to offer him up, or while we were looking at midfielders in Milan, or whatever was going on in the background. It did happen pretty quick, that the whole Tonali deal at a decent price. So, but I think he'd bought into being here. I don't think that's an issue, and I think once he gets over this ban, I think he'll have something to prove. He if anyone in that team will owe us something after that, it will be Tonali.
Yeah. Not quite. I want to see the good in him. I want to see that look, he's coming back to Newcastle United regardless, because he's got a long-term contract. I actually want to see. I'll be honest with you all in the chat and yourself, Daz. I actually want to see Sandro Tonali, when he comes back, extend his contract with the club. I want him to show the sort of commitment that we're going to show him when he comes back. So if we're going to back him as a fan base and as a club and as a management team, Eddie Howe, the owners of the board, if we're going to back him for something that, as far as we're aware, he did when not playing for the club, I want him to come back and show ultimate commitment to the club. I want him to extend his contract. I want him to theme. I want him playing out of his skin every week. He doesn't get away with this lightly. Yes, we will support him. We back him. We'll some of us, because some in the chat was saying, well, I'm not going to sing for him on Saturday at Crystal Palace, and that's completely your choice. But I think the vast majority will. And if we're going to sing for him, if we're going to back him in this moment, in this difficult moment, he needs to show that same commitment to us. So for me, I want him, as soon as he comes back from his ban, however long that is to extend his contract, to show his commitment to this club. And I think the club will ask for that as well, and rightly so, because we'll be paying for his wages whilst he's banned. Now, what I want to see is then, I want to see the Sandro Tonali that we bought from AC Milan. He'd have had time to acclimatise to England. I think after a period of time, like Ivan Toney, after a period of time, because you have a ban, so you can't even train with the team or be in and around the training ground for a period of time. And then after a period of time, you can start training with the club, but just not play. I think from Ivan Toney's interview, I think from when his ban was implemented in May or June, he couldn't start training until September. So he's only just back in training with Brentford now, but he doesn't play till January. We'll probably get to January and then Tonali will be able to play or train with his first team. I want him to be fit and firing and acclimatized to England. So this is no longer a conversation. And then he's back to business. He's back to what we know he can play at, and then commit himself long term. I really want and expect that to happen by then. And I'm talking positives here. I'm sorry if people don't like positives, but he should be speaking fluent English. He should be. There should be no concerns about him.
He should have mastered how to work in the club shop by then as well, Pete. That really going.
Well, yeah, he'll have time to do work in the community. So who's to say he can't do stuff with the food bank and various other things to get to know his community, because he's not committed to games. He'll be training at some point, but all these things, why not? Why not immerse yourself into the community and learn a little bit more about the club that you've committed yourself to? Let's take this as a positive. Let's see if he's going to give himself the opportunity to do that. So,
what just led me down another direction there, what you were describing about extending contracts. But what happens with the current contract and what he's the massive wages he's on now? Like, are we going to be let's say the ban is 7 months. Let's say it's 2 years. Are we going to be paying him every day of that contract, or is there some kind of clause? No one knows the details in the contracts, but what's happening with Ivan Toney, for example? Is he getting paid by Brentford every week but doing nothing?
There's been no concern, or not say no concern. There's been nothing talked about to say that he isn't continuing to be paid. So there's a chance that he could he may well be. I don't know the answer to that question, and I don't know the answer to the potential situation, should we say, the impending ban of Sandro Tonali, of whether he'll still be paid. I assume that he would be, and it's interesting that because Richie just sent a message, and he from WhatsApp, and he mentioned about legislation being put into contracts worldwide if issues come out like this for more and more. And let's not forget, they are saying that around up to 40 in the Italian media, they're saying about up to 40 players are involved in this in some way, shape, or form. So this, like Sandro Tonali, is the highest profile of the lot, but there are lots more apparently involved in this. And from Richard's point of view, it could be that legislation gets brought into the contracts worldwide if it becomes an issue. Things like FFP, he's put player wages, fine the previous club if they knew about it. All these things could potentially be something that gets brought in off the back of that. And he's put like hashtag open the can of worms. And actually, some of those things could well come to fruition. Certainly, the questioning of whether the previous club were aware of the situation before, because someone, I can't remember who it was, someone put it in the chat. It might have been Rich Joblin. It might have been somebody else. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But someone put in there, it's really harsh that Newcastle United, that we're suffering off the back of this. Something that didn't happen whilst he was at our club. Something that happened whilst he was at another club. We're now suffering the consequences for it, and we paid the money. Nobody gave us the heads up. We wouldn't have bought him otherwise. I actually think we'd probably gone further out to get someone like Nico Barella off the back of that. We probably, and it kind of brings a tear to my eye, we probably might have gone a little bit more to get James Madison.
Oh, don't go there, Pete.
I know, I was crying.
Step into the light. Don't go on the dark side.
After Chris put some messages in the chat. Well, he didn't put it in the chat. He dropped me a message about James Madison. But yeah, who's to say we couldn't have gone in for someone like James Madison a little bit more? You look how well he's doing this season, signing in the summer. Nico Barella, world-class talent. That could have potentially happened if AC Milan knew about it and they told us about it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's we don't know that. We can only speculate, and we can't really comment. And it would be unfair of us to suggest AC Milan did know. That's what we were saying, using the word allegedly, if they did go down that route. But the price we did get him for, there's a reason to start to ask the questions. And again, there's more questions than answers to this one. And everyone, even Keith Downey, is saying the same in his bulletins today. Of who knew what? We don't know.
It's such a difficult situation, and you know what? I have to say, it's been so hard to keep up with the chat tonight, but some of the comments and opinions that we're seeing, I'm seeing some points from the likes of Gary V, Stu's in the chat, or other spanner, Stu Amos, great to have you in the chat as well, Adam McCarthy as well. All people, along with so many others, that are making some really good points around this. One thing I want to bring to you guys, I've touched on it. I've said 110% we're going to sign a midfielder. Okay, I'm going to put this out to you guys. Do you think this maybe is the reason why we've had a few links with this man, Calvin Phillips? So I put a screenshot on there of Scott Wilson of the Echo, that's basically put out there that there is interest in Calvin Phillips, and Newcastle ready to strike a deal if the player decides to leave the Etihad in January. Now, Mark Douglas has always, or also, should I say, written a similar story a few days ago, about the Calvin Phillips interest on the back of this too. What's really interesting, if anyone didn't watch the England-Italy game yesterday is he had an interview after the game, and he was almost talking about the fact that he wants to play more minutes, he wants to play more football. He didn't say whether it will be in Man City or not. He didn't go that far to talk about it in more detail, but that's the first open conversation he's had, declaring that he wants to play more. And I think it was the interviewer, I can't remember who it was, mentioned about the fact that, will he have to play more minutes in order to guarantee his spot at the Euros next year? Now, with all of that in place, I want to get people's in the chat opinion on this, but I'm bringing this to you, Daz. Do you think that's the type of deal someone like Newcastle United would go for?
Yeah. Well, I'm going off the statement that the club came out with today, that it doesn't look like they knew anything about the Tonali thing until a couple of days ago or whatever. You imagine Tonali came clean then and told them everything that was going on. I don't know how recent that link is, but I know we've been talking about Phillips for the last 2 weeks. Name has been popping up, so I don't know. I think it's easy to put 2 and 2 together on that front as well. At the time I was saying on loan is the only way I'd look at bringing in Phillips. I'd even go a stretch further now and say any wages we have to give Phillips should come out of Tonali's wages. He can get the rest, because I don't think he did all for getting behind him and getting the help he needs, but he doesn't deserve to be getting, I'm going to say, 150 grand a week for whatever the length of the ban. I'm totally against that. So, but yeah, on Calvin Phillips, he's an option, but he never is one that fills me with joy for where we are going.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It'd be interesting to get people's opinions about Sandro Tonali. Calvin Phillips. We've talked about Sandro Tonali so much, and we'll continue to talk about it because there's other little caveats that we need to consider as well with Sandro Tonali.
Would you take him, Pete? Because you're also the one bringing up Calvin Phillips. But would you take him? I know he played well for England there at a tournament recently, but like he's been sitting on the bench for City, and I know the whole injury thing, and we talked before about his shoulder situation. But I wouldn't like us to go out and buy him. No.
And this is where it gets kind of a little bit tricky, because I talked about Calvin Phillips a year and a half ago, maybe on the channel, when I talked about my concerns. It might have been longer than that ago, because it was when he was still at Leeds. I think it was before Man City signed him. And he's had a lot of injuries, particularly with his shoulders, a few dislocations. And I was concerned about that becoming a serious problem. And his injury record wasn't great at Leeds in the build-up to him going to Man City. He hasn't then played a lot of football, has still had injuries at Man City, but then he's been fit all of this season and just not getting in. Rodri, the best defensive midfielder in the world, has been out, suspended, and he's still not been picked. So you kind of think to yourself, well, they clearly don't rate him. However, he has been fit for a period of time now. He's playing for England, not really playing for Man City. But I would consider him on a 6 month loan. And I genuinely think, and to be fair, I'm not going to take this away from him. Rich Joblin said it, and I think it's a great point. Howe's version of Calvin Phillips could be something that could be really exciting for Newcastle in that number 6.
I'd want the option to buy then. So the option to buy
with an option to buy. Why not? Why not? Because we can still decide to go against that. And look, Calvin Phillips isn't the only player that's out there, but as a quick, effective option, he's English. He's an England international, something that Eddie Howe likes in players. And I think he could be someone that could come in under Eddie Howe in the last half of the season. He's motivated. He needs to get into that Euro squad. He needs to play regular football to guarantee himself not only getting in the squad, but starting. Can we benefit from that? Can we get him playing great football that helps us and potentially himself in England, and then maybe progressed himself into a permanent move where he can come be more of a regular. Or if he goes back to Man City, fine. And then we, depending on the length of the ban, we get Sandro Tonali back and we continue forward. It's a nice little stopgap off the back of that. So it's something to consider. Now,
good point there from Craig
link,
Lee as well as that Lewis Hall can play midfield. He can play left back and midfield. So he's another option. We haven't seen an awful lot of him yet, but he's another one to throw into the mix.
It's a fair point from Craig, but in it was a few weeks going back now. Eddie Howe made it absolutely clear in his press conference that he brought Lewis Hall as a left back. So I don't see him using him as a left back. He's not really played much now. I think long term.
He brought Tonali as a midfielder. That's not going to work for a while now either.
That's true. That is
Sorry,
true.
Pete. Every positive you bring, you bring a negative.
You're slapping it down with a negative.
Sorry.
No. But it's an alternative opinion. There's another player as well, and it was linked from the Chelsea side actually. I've not heard this personally. It's not come from Newcastle, but it's an interesting one. A player that you know. Does very well. Newcastle prepared to sign a new central midfielder if Sandro Tonali is banned, with Andre Santos from Chelsea seen as an option. Now we know, we know he was a player that we wanted, and I know you talked about him quite a lot as well before.
Did he not go to Notts Forest on loan?
I think he has, but I'm not sure if it's a 6-month loan.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. Someone correct me on that, but I think I was under the impression it was a 6-month loan with him potentially going back in January. So could he then go off and come to us? Now, there's the rule that you can only play for 3 teams in a season, but I'm not sure if he's played for Chelsea yet this season. So he could potentially have signed for Chelsea, not play for them, play on loan at Forest, and then come to us in January. That's another alternative, potentially. And correct me if I'm wrong and anything I've just said around Andre Santos. But again, it was a player that we were linked with, a player that the club really wanted. That could be an alternative for 6 months as well. But they're just a couple of options, and there'll be more. The Kefram Tarams, the other players that we've looked at before. All I'll say is that for the transfer show might be a busy one come January. That's all I'll say.
I saw someone mention there as well. I think it was Gally, who was our prize winner for members' prize draw. I hope Chris has sorted you out, Gally. If not, Chris has been busy. He's been on the move, so he will sort you out on that. But we did locate that, and we have a prize draw tonight as well. Actually, don't let me forget that. We have a prize draw. No, we'll get to when because I have the spinny wheel. We must get the details up for that. With everything's going on, we forgot. But yeah, he mentioned the thing about the. It's very bit unfair, but he said about the no dickhead policy on. But I'm not putting Tonali in that category whatsoever. It's just. Yeah, look, it is what it is. We have to get him right and get him back playing for us as well. And we love nothing more than to see him come back as quick as possible and do the business and come back brighter and better than ever. Maybe there's a few comments as well that we want to go to in the chat.
Just let me get the details of the draw up just whilst
you start doing that. Yeah, Chris Dawson says, and this kind of linked to what I was saying there, has the due diligence process of the club's recruitment team failed in some way? It's a difficult thing to try and to get to the bottom of there. How would you know that about any potential player you're bringing in? You know, because it could so easily hit. If it was readily available, it wouldn't have got to the stage you got to, and as Pete mentioned, about 40 players initially, so involved in this scandal.
And it goes back to the addiction thing, Daz and Chris, who put the question in. You know, when you are addicted to something like that, it's not something that you're open to tell people. When you see people that are addicted to something, they try very, very hard to hide it. in their minds, at times they feel like they can get away with it, like they're not going to be caught. And so, I don't blame the club for this. I don't blame the club for this at all. I think the club have done their scouting network. They've done their background checks on the player, on the attitude, on the pitch, off the pitch. And I think everything came back very, very positive. And as far as we're aware of, they're not even AC Milan knew. And that was some of the reports that came out this afternoon. They're not even AC Milan knew. Now, we don't know that for sure. That might come out as very different. But if they weren't aware, he's kept this very quiet. And sometimes that's what happens. And that's just the reality of things.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to go to this one, and this is controversial as well. It was just something I picked up on today as well. Have been discussed elsewhere. But can he be trusted moving forward? There was I heard talk of questioning. Remember when he kind of half-heartedly went to block down two goals at one stage. People are even questioning that now at this stage, and you know what? That's understandable that people are questioning things like that, because there's so many questions that they need to be answered here. But fast forward 2 years into the future, and he's back playing again. Are people going to start questioning him again? If something happens in a match, and we're kind of questioning, or was he intentionally trying to get booked there or get sent off, or there's a lot of trust that will need to be built up again. So that's something, another factor in all this as well.
Yeah, I get that. I get it. It's the one thing I'll say is he's now under the umbrella of Newcastle United. Now this has all come out. Newcastle United, Eddie Howe, the owners, Amanda Staveley, for example, will, in my opinion, 100% ensure that everything's on the table now. Everything's on the table. Now this has come out that nothing will be kept from the club, from the manager, by the player. And I think that can only be a good thing for him and for us moving forward. That's the only thing that I can sort of add to that in some way.
I'm going to throw in a positive, Pete. I've been too negative. I'm going to throw in a positive, but it's not about Tonali. It's and Tom mentioned there, and it was going to be one of the topics that we would have talked about tonight if this story didn't gain legs during the day, and we did a normal question and answers show. But Saudi Airlines will shortly be confirmed as Newcastle United's new airline partner. I myself, when I saw it first, I thought, and I saw that, stay tuned. I was thinking, it's stadium rights there, but it could lead to that in the future. Who knows? But stadium naming rights, I should say, of some description. But yeah, it looks like we've got another one on board. I know Mark Douglas is reporting on it as well. Everyone was, as Craig Hope was on, everyone's on that boat. We should find out more in the next couple of days about that. Maybe not the best time to bring it out either, just yet. Maybe hang on to it for a while. And give us a good news story after we get really, really bad news.
Definitely. But look, for me, I'm buzzing at it. I think everybody will agree that's been on social media. I'm not just buzzing at the fact that Saudi Airlines are on sort of airline sponsor partnership, or whatever you want to call it. I'm buzzing at the fact that other clubs are fuming at the fact that we're getting these partnerships and these investment deals in, because they know what we know. And deals like this add millions and millions into the club, but also add millions and millions into what we can potentially spend moving forward. And we are building, we have to build like this. Some people say, why are we doing this? Why are we getting an airline partner? Like, why is that important? It's important because the club are looking at any way in which we can get investment into the club. We're looking at any means. You look at some of the top clubs, Manchester United, for example, they have all types all types of investment, including Saudi investment, should we add that for the last 10 years, they've had Saudi investment with sleeve sponsors, and they've got a separate sponsorship for their training kit as they have for their match day kit. All these things bring in massive amounts of extra money. So anywhere that we can do that, anywhere that we can develop and build that financial kind of kitty, it allows us to be able to fight alongside these guys. Now we're doing that on the pitch, which is the great thing. We're competitive against these guys. For me, this is the season. Daz, you'll know what I'm about to say. This is the season, and Daz wants this more than anybody, that we finish above Man United. This for me is the season.
Yes.
So we are competing with Man United. We're competing with Tottenham Hotspur. We're competing with Chelsea. We're competing with the likes of Liverpool. We're up there challenging at the top end of the table on the pitch, but we're not quite there off the pitch. And we need to do investments like this that allowed us to build a partnership, build a network, and build finances more than anything. And the longer and the more that we do that, the better it is for Newcastle United, and we can properly enjoy spending big money on big players and bringing them to the club to catapult us up the table. That's what we need.
Pete, question for you. You watch Billions, don't you? You do.
Yes,
I love that show.
I absolutely love it, but
I love that show.
I'm behind, so don't.
Oh, I'm not going to tell you. Don't worry, no spoilers.
Halfway through series 5.
Oh, no, I absolutely, I'm up to date, but I love it. But I when I saw this news today, and Tom was becoming a reporter, I think. The reporter Tom Dixon of Sky News, he says Dr. Ian Mitchell has left the Football Association of Wales to join Newcastle as the club's new head of psychology. I just thought Wendy Rhodes, this guy is the Wendy Rhodes of Newcastle, coming in to sort all these problems out, get in people's heads, sort them all out. But anyone that doesn't watch Billions, great show. Check it out.
Stu's very much to put Billions is on my list. You have to watch Billions.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable. Literally, it's a crazy series. You know what? I might have to catch up with it tonight. You've just reminded me. I've got so many things I need to watch. I need to watch the David Beckham documentary. I need to watch.
I'm watching that.
Yeah,
I watched 3 episodes of that. It's 4 parts of it, so I probably would be watching that tonight if I wasn't on this show.
There's a few things I'm watching or have been watching with the missus that I'm not going to mention on here because I'll probably get a load of stick for it. But no, Billions. I need to catch
what
up.
You do in your own time, in your own house, is your own business.
If anyone watched Love Is Blind, you'll know what I mean. On Netflix, absolutely addicted to that, and I have no idea why, but it's great. It's great.
I thought you were going to say you're watching Big Brother, but that peaked at season 3. Season 3 for me, that peaked. You know where I'm going there.
That's one other
Evenly. But yeah, any other topic? I'm about a half an hour behind in the chat, so and then you see that we should need to touch on, Pete. Just shout. Oh, we do the draw.
There's a number of things really. People are making some excellent. Lots of people have said, so Stu's watched the Beckham documentary. Adams watched the Beckham documentary. Beckham is good. Very good documentary. Beckham. Wow, I've not even watched it yet, so I need to catch up with it.
Yeah, that's good.
The Last Dance is amazing, by the way. That is for sure. That's the Michael Jordan documentary. Would recommend David Beckham. So it is getting. I was much interested in Beckham doc. Oh my god. Terrible, Jesus Christ, man!
You get to see things from the other side as well. It's pretty good, especially around no spoilers around the whole England, Argentina, and sending off. It's good to see that angle on it and his side of it there. So that's very interesting.
In positive news, I'd seen it circulated, and people in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong. I have heard that there were some objections to the stack kind of being built with, I think, members of the council or whoever it was that has to sign it off. But I've heard over the last couple of days that that's been dropped now, and that it has been given the go ahead to be built, and they're potentially going to be starting work on that. So hopefully that March deadline for opening is on track.
Hope and just to bring another negative in, and you're gone for the positive there, people. I'll bring a negative in just to balance the books. Is I won't get to see Tonali play live. Over. I definitely won't be to see Tonali. You got to see him already in the PSG game.
I was at the PSG game. PSG game. I was there, so I got to watch him play, and he had a good game, to be fair. But look,
on a positive there, he might be able to play for us in the charity game. You never know. You never know.
Hey, maybe that should be one of his conditions that
yes.
that is part of his bag.
Who can we get to sign off on that?
Gary V says it was the police apparently that kind of put a stop to the stack getting the go ahead. They're not happy about it, but I think it's all sort of been dropped as such. If you haven't already, click the likes. We've got over 100 likes, but we've had 280, 290, as many as that in the chat tonight. Click the likes, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let's get another 10, 20 subs in tonight from people that are in the chat. If you're in the chat and you're listening to the show, but you're not commenting on anything, just put a comment in, throw something out there, and come and join the Loaded family for sure. And I believe, I don't know if you've already said it, but I believe we have a new member.
Oh, we do. We have a new. Sorry, I'm laughing at David Cook. I was saying, Daz, can we do this when you hear this gambling?
Come on.
Well, it's not a monetary prize this time, David. It's something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a new member, and it is Tim Mannion. Welcome, Tim. And you had some great comments in the chat as well. But Tim, welcome to the Loaded family, and welcome to you've become a Loaded Ultra. So welcome to that. And we also have from Craig Lee, and let me play the little jingle.
Super chat.
Craig is very vocal on his support for Tonali, and rightly so, and everyone is entitled to their opinion on the matter. As fans, we can all have different opinions on various different topics. That's what it's all about. If everyone had the same opinion, it would not be very fun whatsoever.
Yeah. We've also got Scotty, member for 10 months. Being great
one, Scotty.
And for 10 more months. So fantastic stuff. And they're all coming through. The Conrad, new member, just come through now. Great to have you on there. Member to the channel. Excellent stuff. Great to have you as part of the Loaded Ultras. That's for sure.
Let's do the wheel.
Spinning wheel.
Yeah, let's do the wheel. Pete, do you want to tell people what's up for grabs in this one? And the winner has 24 hours to claim the prize as well, because we're going to have to get moving on this one, because it'll become obvious in a second. Tell us more, Pete.
Definitely. So the reason why you've only got a short period to claim your prize is because the event is coming up on Monday. So massive thanks to Pete Graves, who has given us 2 tickets to Here to Compete book launch event, where you are going to see the eventual winner, the fantastic and the legendary Kevin Keegan, and our manager Eddie Howe together. A fantastic prize by Pete. Thank you very, very much for getting in touch with us at Loaded. and saying that there are he's putting 2 tickets available to our watchers and listeners of the channel. Anyone that's a member that's currently before this show in the spinny wheel as a chance to win tonight. And there are 2 tickets for this event. It says as it says on there. So it is on Monday evening, 23rd of October, 7:30 at the Tyne Theatre, Newcastle. So brilliant prize, fantastic
And
stuff.
best of luck to Pete Graves with that book and the launch, and great little stocking filler for people as well for Christmas, I'm sure. So keep an eye on that when it gets released. I think I saw him tweet that at the event, I think the book will be available 4 days before its actual release date. So if you go along to that, I'm sure you'll be able to pick up the book. And I'm sure Pete would sign it as well. Tell him Loaded said he'd sign it. Right, let's get. He'll come back in and kill us someday. Share screen.
He's already said he's going to come back on.
Nice one.
Yeah, he'll be back on soon. Come on to Loaded. He always enjoys coming on Loaded and chatting to all of us and the people in the chat. So yeah, expect Pete Graves at some point in the next couple of months.
Nice one. Cool. Right, let's get this wheel and see what's happening. Can you see it yet, Pete? That spinny wheel.
I can. It's there.
Okay, let's go. So let's hope it's someone we can track down fairly easy, or maybe they're watching the show and they can let us know. And they'll have to be able to go as well. So let's go, spin and win.
Good luck, everyone.
It was nearly us.
Good luck. No, not for me.
Andy McClay, Geordie Springer.
Oh,
congratulations, Andy.
Andy McClay, Geordie Springer. Excellent.
No, that's probably his Twitter handle as well. So we might be able to track him down that way. So we'll try to track you down, and Andy, if you get to us before we get to you, great. But by 9 o'clock tomorrow, we will need to know that we will need to have got in contact with you, or else we will have to do another spin-off air and go on to the next person and try and hunt them down, because of we don't want to we need to get it handed over before the date and get you see that you're available to go, or you can hand it over to someone else, whatever the case may be. But congratulations, Andy. That is the main thing.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant. No, excellent stuff. Well done to Andy. But so the draw is done. As I say, a fantastic evening there, here to complete with Pete Graves' book launch event. So obviously you've got the opportunity to get Pete's book, he's been working very hard on getting it ready to put out there, and the opportunity to hear Kevin Keegan and Eddie Howe in the same room would be
class.
Yeah, iconic, should we say? Iconic.
Yeah. I was there kind of moment. Well, let's tell people what's happening tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. With all this drama, you'd forget that we have a game coming up, and I think we're going to talk about it tomorrow. Talk us through this, Pete.
We are. So, and we might have a second guest actually coming and joining us. So there might be an update for that. But Away Date is back. If anyone knows who D is from the 12th Man, he is he's a fantastic, really nice guy. Sorry?
He's a quite lad.
Yeah.
Not very vocal.
We wish, but a very vocal and opinionated Crystal Palace fan. Has a lot of respect for Newcastle, I have to say, but not a lot of respect for West Ham, Wolves, and any other club near the Midlands or in London. But no, it should be a really interesting conversation. They've had a difficult situation with injuries, so it'll be interesting to see who's available.
I have a question for him already on that front.
Oh, yeah.
I want to ask. I'll get in the chat tomorrow. I want to ask you about what happened with the Brazilian wonder kid that they brought in that we were looking at as well, Mateus Franca. Because I know that I know he got injured then. But where is he on the path to recovery there? So
I know the answer to that already
yeah,
because I've spoken to him. Yeah. I think we'll see him at St James's Park on Saturday.
Oh no.
This will be his first game at St James's on Saturday.
Kiss of death there, isn't it?
Yeah. Mateus Franca, I think he is now.
I hope I won't be talking too much about him on this one and our loaded reaction show. See the link in there, Pete. So that's smooth.
Smooth.
But yeah, we'll be back on Saturday night. It's 3 p.m. kickoff. I know it's available on Premier Sports in Ireland, actually. So I'll be able to watch that one by legal means, as always, of course. But yeah, loaded reaction Saturday evening. Join us for that one, and I think it's at 8 o'clock. We've set it up for. So yeah, that should be hopefully. Fingers crossed, a good one, and plenty to talk about after that as well.
Definitely, but
maybe I'll give a quick shout out to sponsors, Pete, as you wrapping up. But shout out to the radiatorshed.com, and as we put ourselves in jail, and the fabulous radiators that Russ has, check them out. It's got cold recently, so anyone that has taken advantage and gotten those radiators in is laughing now. And also, if you need to get them installed, and StoreWorks versus other company will sort you out. You come that loaded van and do the job, the business there. Right. Also, shout out to H2O Bathroom Design Co., the Northeast's largest supplier of Velcro and botch bathroomware. Team Valley, Gateshead. Over 20 years established, run by the family. Get down to the showroom on 11th Avenue, Team Valley Estate, Gateshead. And the fabulous bathrooms and everything like that. That's available. Go check it out. The latest there. Even Tonali's kicking around there. He could give Russ a hand in the loaded van. There you go. That's another positive, Pete. I'm coming with all the positives now. But yeah, that's a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Well, I hope for everyone in the chat and everyone that's listening who's not been able to watch live but watching afterwards, I hope that's kind of helped in terms of the discussion, some of the questions in the chat, some of our opinions. We're back to green and white again. Of course we are. We're not as angry as we were before. Hopefully it's helped to calm a few raging frustrations off the back of that. And yeah, really enjoyed the chat, Daz. Pleasure as always. Pleasure to everyone in the chat. Great to have people like Taron Carpel in the chat that's not a regular, but great to have his opinions in there. Like to Gary V, our spanners, Tom, Stu, and Lisa. Apparently, Stu, it's your mum's birthday, so happy birthday to your mum, Stu. Hope she's had a great day. But all the regulars in the chat, like Les and Adam and Jules, and so many others. Hopefully, we've helped with what's been quite a frustrating day with regards to Newcastle United and Sandro Tonali. But as Daz has just said, we have football to help take our minds off things. And I think the best way to take our minds off things is to go and absolutely pummel Crystal Palace at the weekend. That'll make everything better.
Any excuse. And look, another important thing as well to mention, and we have touched on it throughout the show as well, but if you or someone in your family is suffering from addiction of any kind, get the help you need, and get the support that is available. It's just, I suppose, that the hardest thing is to putting it out there and putting yourself on the right track to recovery. But that's it. We leave it there. Thanks everyone for putting up with my ranting and my negativity tonight and Pete's positivity. But we go again. How'd you like that? Good night, everyone.
How you like first and most, and that's what's up on the back. On the thread, cock back. Plain drink it.